So the next thing we want to do with our application is pretty up the view a little bit of our customer index page. So if you remember, let's start up Sales and close down these old windows and go to our customer index page right here. This is hideous. It's functional, I suppose. It shows all of the information from our database, name, email, and state for all of our customers. But this is not the kind of output that we want to be showing people using our application. So in order to edit this and make this look a little bit prettier, we're going to have to create a new function in our customer controller and then a new corresponding view. So let's pop up under API and controllers. Let's pop up our customer controller. I'm going to add a comma after our show function. And then pull in a new function, a new action here called index. And index is another action that we're creating here that passes in a function that takes three parameters: rec, res, and next. Request, response, and next. And this one, different from our show function above that executes find one, this one executes another built-in function called customer.find. Customer.find returns a list of every single customer that's in our database, and it returns that in an object that we're going to call customers. As usual, we're going to just check for errors and pass that along, and then we're going to forward that array of customers into our view called index.ejs that we haven't created yet. And we're going to forward that array and we're going to call it customers. So that's all that we need to do here to pass that array of customers to our view. Now, inside of customer, we need to create a new EJS file called index.ejs. Inside of our new EJS file, we're going to create a table. We're going to call that table customers. And inside of our table, we're going to have some stuff. So we're going to show the customer ID, we're going to show the customer name, we're going to show the customer's email, and then we're going to have three empty headers here because we're going to have three columns in our table that are dedicated to buttons or links to perform some actions on those customers. And we'll get to those in just a moment. So then once we've finished that header row, the next thing we need to do is execute a loop. And here we don't want to do less than %escape through the equal sign because that would escape this JavaScript that we're doing and output this underscore.each. That would output that as HTML. So we're just going to do less than %. And then we do underscore.each. And on each customer in our customers array, remember the customers array that we're passing from our customer controller, we're going to pass an argument called customer, which is each customer in that object. And for each customer in our customers array, we're going to create a table row. And that table row is going to have a data ID that's equal to our customer ID. It's going to have a data model of customer. This is just extra information that we're including in our table row. And then we will have columns for each of the bits of information that we've indicated up here above. So first we're going to include the customer ID, then customer name, then customer email. And then we're going to create those buttons that I promised. In those last three columns, we're going to create a link to customer/show and pass along also that customer ID. We'll call that show. And then we're going to create another link in the next column called customer/edit. And we'll cover the creation of the edit functionality in the next tutorial. And again, we'll pass along that customer ID. And finally, we will pass along customer/destroy with the customer ID in order to delete a customer. Now we haven't created edit or delete yet, but we'll get there. And finally, the last thing we need to do is close this function inside another one of those embedded JavaScript tags. So once we've created that, we can stop and start sales again, open up our application, and now remember we had that ugly JSON. If we now go to customer, we now have a slightly, very slightly less ugly table. Obviously, in your final application, you're going to want to apply some CSS styles here to space things out and maybe arrange this differently. But we now have this table that displays customer ID, customer name, customer email, and then links to show, edit, and delete. And if I click on show, it takes me to that customer show page. Notice my state, which is the last bit of information showed here, is null for my entry, so that's okay. But Steve-O, he has a state of Ohio, so all that's there. And that links directly to those pages. If we click on edit, that's going to link to a 404 because we haven't created that functionality. Delete is one of those functions that's automatically created. So currently you can delete a customer, and then when we refresh that page, you'll note he's gone. But we'll pretty that up in a couple tutorials. So now the last thing that we need to do is commit our changes. Add pretty index table, commit to master, and as always, sync.